Hello everybody, welcome back to Stay with Al. I hope everybody's keeping safe and well. I thought I'd do this video as I do appreciate I haven't updated in quite a while. There's probably a number of reasons for that, and that's what I'm going to describe to you now. So obviously the layout was finished a little while before Christmas. However, pretty much since Christmas, New Year, into the New Year, I just don't seem to be finding the enthusiasm for it at the minute, to be perfectly honest. I've had some thoughts about what I want to do, and there's been a few things just going on really, so that's why it hasn't been regular uploads. So one of the other issues that I've had, which has sort of delayed me, you would have seen some of my previous videos in regards to obviously modifying the old Hornby coaches to receive the NEM pockets, because back in October time I had purchased a large supply of KD couplings ready for conversion, but to my disappointment, actually, when I come to open those, I bought 11 packets of the size 20s, and out of all of those 11 packets, only one of them, where there was all 4 of the KD couplings that actually were ready to put in a loco or a coach or a wagon and ready to run. There was a wide variety, so across the 11 packets, obviously there's 44 sort of individual couplings, and to give you a flavour, out of that 44, 29 of them were in packets where there was sort of no springs. So I've obviously been delayed quite significantly with that, because I was in a position where I was going to modify and transfer the coupling system over, because obviously on this layout, as the previous one, I have had the magnets installed so that I can do the automatic sort of uncoupling with the KD system, but obviously I have purchased the little spring. You can get the little spring gadget tool, which is supposed to help you in putting those springs in, but I've tried that and it's taken me about an hour and a half to do one. I quite simply and frankly do not have the time or the patience to sit there and do 29 of them. So I have taken them, or have reported it to the retailer that I purchased them from, who's really good as ever, and he's doing everything he can. He's challenged it with the local rep. However, it seems to be, I think with some of the ongoing stuff in the world at the minute, that the KD factory is either in America is either really slow, or completely stopping production completely, because doesn't seem to be getting any answer. So I'm now left in no man's land waiting. So I absolutely really do like and enjoy the principle of the coupling system, but I just cannot tolerate that level. If it was the odd spring that was missing out of that lot, I could sort of stomach it and do it, but when you're talking of over half of the sort of couplings that you're buying in that sort of bulk, that's obviously some sort of production error issue there. So that's one thing that's not really helped me, because obviously I'm trying to modernise things and try and get some more enjoyment when using the layout, obviously without having to do the hand of God for uncoupling and subsequent derails and everything, which the mainstay issues of tension lock couplings are. So I'm waiting in regards to that. So that's where we are with that. I have done a update to the track plan. So where the engine shed is, just next to where I've rested the camera at the minute, you had another point sort of which is directly hidden now by the engine shed, so it was really difficult to be accessible. So what I've done is now removed that point, and I've actually placed it, and this is what you'll see as well. I've got loads of stuff on top of it at the minute, but I've actually replaced it there. So that was a modification which I've done. So that took it wasn't very long, but obviously it was just doing that about an hour or so, I suppose, that job. Which then led to it was great because that's where it was more accessible for me to use, because as you know, on this layout I don't have the capacity really for underneath baseboard point motors, because I've got the bookshelves either side on the desk, so there's, you know, probably nearly half the size of both baseboards where I simply can't get underneath them. If you're doing a scenic one, the surf mount point motors are not necessarily the greatest or most aesthetically pleasing either, so I've always been relying upon doing it by hand. The one consequence I've had because of that, although that makes that easier and accessible now to flick those points to direct traffic, where it's come back down now, where this used to be able to take 4 coaches, it can now only take 3. A 4th coach and a loco then fails points at either end of the station area there. So again, that's another thing which has got me a little bit sort of down, as in you're always seeming to be compromising when you're doing 00. So which then has sort of led on to a bit of a bigger concept with me really at this time, which was I had been starting to contemplate whether I should just ditch 00 altogether and move to N-Gage for the size purposes, etc. It's a decision that I've wrestled with quite difficultly, but fundamentally I think I'm at the point now with the level of commitment and outlay that I've done on 00 that it's just not, I don't think I've got the stomach or the appetite to actually go back to nothing and start again. So there is a couple of other bits with that. There's probably a few locos in N-Gage that I wouldn't be able to get that I've got in 00. And obviously I've done a lot of research, I've looked at YouTube videos, I've read things on websites, I've bought a number of guides and books for starting in N-Gage, as well as speaking with some retailers, and I've also been put off by some of the stories about some of the reliability of some of the N-Gage steam locomotives. So I've taken the decision that it's just too much, so it's one of those where I'm going to have to continue to compromise. But that does still leave me with plans. I was going to do a bit of a running session, but as I've gone to pull out the bridge bit where it's stored behind bits, it's actually the wires have pulled, so where I wanted to have this little bit of time just to come in and shoot something quick to post up, it's gone against me, unfortunately, because I'm now going to have to obviously resolder, and that's the last point I'm going to come to really, is the practicality of this layout still. The issues like that, this big bridge storage space is a bit of an issue. It doesn't fit in neatly or tidily, and I'm surprised it's taken this long before this thing to happen. There is nowhere else for me to really store it. I've tried storing it directly behind the door, but the problem is it's an odd shape, so it doesn't just sit right, and unfortunately, yeah, it's not great. So I've been watching other YouTube videos. Regardless of whether I was going to change to N-Gage or not, what I had decided was that I really want to progress with Scenics, and as I've explained on previous videos, being a private tenant in a rented accommodation, the one benefit I've always had with the layouts I've done so far is where I haven't Scenic them at all, when I've needed to change them, it's been very easy. You know, lift the track up, there's no gravel you've got to loosen up, there's no bits and pieces. So again, all the track and the points that I've got are from the very first original layout that I started 3 years ago soon. So there's that. But what I have seen and what I am intending to do is to probably at some point rip this up, this layout, and what I have seen, and it's not a new invention, but I've just liked the idea of it. I've watched a couple of people's layouts on YouTube where they've done it in a modular fashion, so they've got modular baseboards, where they have just slots together basically, which is great. You can make those to whatever your specific circumstances dictate, but more importantly, you know, if and when that time does then come that I have to move, which it will do at one point whenever that is in the future, rather than what I've got currently, which is a permanent fixed thing, I'd have to really spend a lot of time. It will be built and designed this time in mind that it could be a portable or exhibition layout, which I'm not saying it would be, but I'm just saying the modular construction would mean that it, you know, if and when it needs to be, it can be lifted and transported out without any issue. So that's where I'm at. One of the other things that I will be doing on the new construction layout type of things is these sideboards here are only a foot wide, and again, that's a lot of the issues with the compromise in it. I think it's just too short for having realistically a bit of scenery. When I've looked at the Metcalfe kits and looked at the dimensions of a lot of what their kits are, to try and have some sort of background scenery, some sort of road in front of any houses or shops or whatever it would be, and then come into the station with the platforms, then the lines, you quickly run out of room, or you're pushing it all and cramped up and it doesn't look natural. So one of the proposals that I've done is I've gone to B&Q. Disclaimer, there are other recognised branded stores if you don't so desire them, but what they do with their sheet MDF boards, I've got a couple of the small 9mm MDF boards which measure 405mm in depth, and they're 8-10mm in length. So they're what I'm going to start with. I might look at a longer one, because obviously in this bit here I'm probably going to want some sort of station again. So I'm in this mindset now where I'm toying with what to do. But the 405mm coming out of here is just about tolerable, where it probably overhangs slightly more, but not enough to affect me, obviously, because this is my workspace when I have to work from home, which because of the lockdown I've been doing a lot recently in the last year. So this room, as much as having my railway in it, needs to remain incredibly functional for my work purposes, and other reasons, because it just needs to work. So, but like I say, so I know ideally 2 foot would be better, but unfortunately 2 foot comes out too far. 2 foot potentially could be an option for the window wall, because it just comes further out on the above the desk, which potentially wouldn't stop the functionality of it. But on these side ones, absolutely definitely not. I think sort of 35 centimeters or 405 millimeters, 40 centimeters, sorry, is gonna be really the limit. So that's where I'm at. Apologies, like I say, that this has probably rabbled on for way too long. I was intending this to be a very short, quick video catching you up with what I've done. Thank you if you've lasted to the end. And what I'd really love is suggestions and ideas from you guys. I'm just trying to work out what I'd be happy with. So this layout will stay for the time being. What I will probably do is decide on a definitive size for the more really the depth of the baseboards that I'm going to use and the lengths, and then construct those before I even think about ripping this up. So in the meantime, I've still got this to use as and so when I desire. But yeah, just so that you know, the main walls running along here is 7'10", and it's, I believe it's about 6'2" running across. So that's the dimensions I'm working with. One of the other issues is on this side, obviously where I've got the goods shed. As you can see, I've got the door, so this stops quite a bit short, so this is another issue. So one of my other counter proposals is I might get a bit of other shelf board, and maybe do an extension and put this on a hinge so that when I want to use it, it comes down. So I can go all the way up, so I can get another 7 foot, because again, that's another one that really makes the dimensions difficult in this setup. So yeah, there's all these lots of ideas that I've got swirling around, but like I say, I am going to go now, so thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'm always interested and willing to listen to suggestions and ideas. Thanks very much for your time. Take care. Bye.